Question 1. What did you learn through your observations? One of the most significant things that I've learned about through my observations of Site 1, 20 Renwick Street, Des Moines, was the legal requirements that are enforced by the Water Board. The builder explained to me that because they were renovating above a sewer main, they were required to replace the terracotta piping and then encase the sewer main in concrete. He then went on to tell me that this caused a hazard for his site because they had to dig a large trench, which was roughly 3.5 metres deep and 7 metres long. The observations I learned from my second site, 22 Highland Ridge Middle Cove, is I learned a lot about excavating and waste removal. The builder explained that they had to excavate tons of rock and clay in order to build a double-spaced garage. He also explained and showed us how the dump truck takes this material and may either get rid of it or put it to good use on another site. At this point, they had already removed 8 tons of this material. Question 2. Application of theory to practice. When making the recordings for site number 1, I noticed a few of the things that I've learnt being put into practice, such as the digging of a trench and the finishes. The builder explained that the method he used to pour the concrete to encase the sewer main was a line pump, because this would be more useful and efficient. When conducting my interviews, the subcontractors were occupied with attaching the external doors and fixing them into place. Their job after that was to attach the plasterboard for the wall finishes. The builder also explains to me that due to the fact that they were using pre-existing structure and adding on an extension, there was need to repaint both the exterior and the interior of the garage. I also saw many things I have learnt in lectures applied through site number 2, Middle Cove. This included, of course, the practice of excavation, which I noted earlier, and the use of veneers and stumps. There was brick veneers surrounding one of the rooms that was about to be installed. Where the floorboards were yet to be in place, we could see underneath that the brick stumps that would go under the bathroom. Question number 3, the critique of building practices. In my personal opinion, there were some things that had been overlooked in this workplace in site number 1. Firstly, only about 1/3 of the personnel were wearing any PPE gear, which presents risks for their personal safety. Secondly, there was a lot of clutter over the floor, including tools and tarp and parts of the temporary fencing. This caused a potential tripping hazard. On the other hand, this site did have appropriate supervision and was adequately staffed and not overcrowded for such a small amount of space. The building practices on Site 2 were all very well thought out and conducted in a safe manner. All workers were wearing full PPE, which made them a lot safer in the environment. And secondly, the site was very clean and well marked out. This is important because it shows that the site is well organised, making the project a lot easier for everyone involved. The only critique I have is that there was only 2 men working on the site that day. Time could have been used more efficiently if there were more labourers working on the unattended parts of this site. An appropriate amount of people on site also makes it a bit safer in my opinion, as there is a lot more people to help in case of an emergency. Question number 4. Most parts of site number 1 complied with the requirements of NCC and Australian standards. This, in my opinion, was due to the use of proper materials, temporary fencing, and the adequate waste removal. They also did not over-excessively use too many resources, as they used much of the existing structure as possible to cut back costs and improve time efficiency. Much like site number 1, my second site effectively and efficiently removed waste in the correct way. This site also practiced acceptable water drainage, as well as constructing the additions to the property in an appropriate way. I could see this as we had access to the view underneath the flooring where they had proper ventilation and they had brick piers. To conclude my reflection, I believe through accessing and learning about these sites I've gained more knowledge about construction. Particularly, I enjoyed learning about sewer mains, excavating, and the proper removal of waste and unwanted materials.